time. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Florida's 12th District for 5 minutes for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it very much. To follow up with Ms. Kelly, you can see this is a bipartisan issue. Chair Rosenworcel, you recently announced on NPRM that would prevent bulk billing arrangements between broadband providers and housing communities. Since that announcement, I have received letters from 140 constituents unanimously in opposition to the proposal, fearing it would significantly increase costs. So I'm glad that Ms. Kelly brought this up as well. It's a great concern for our seniors. The vast majority of these messages come from those residing, again, in senior living communities on fixed incomes, and particularly now with the inflation being so very high. It's so very difficult for our seniors. An FCC report and order in 2010 aligns with these constituent concerns, stating, and I quote, "It would be a disservice to the public interest if, in order to benefit a few residents, we prohibited bulk billing, because so doing would result in higher MVPD service charges for the vast majority of multi-dwellings unit residents who are content with such arrangements." And I have a letter from Timber Pines. Timber Pines is an adult community, senior community in my district in Spring Hill, Florida. Many letters from Timber Pines. How is it in the public interest, Commissioner Chair, to directly cause increased rates for a significant number of Americans under this proposal?
Sure. I think we can all agree that broadband's an essential service. And we also have policies in place that prevent there from being exclusive in apartment buildings, that lock up an apartment building so that folks can't get any other provider and benefit from competition. 1/3 of the people in this country live in apartment buildings or multi-unit dwellings. That's a lot of people. But what we're finding now is they're bypassing those exclusive prohibitions and just baking it into the rent or assessment fees on each apartment and unit. And so what I've received as the chair of the agency are a lot of complaints from consumers who say, everyone else gets competition, why don't I get competition? Why do I have to pay for this service if I don't want to use it? So what we've proposed is a rulemaking to ask those questions, mindful that there are some constituents, including folks like the ones you described, who might like these services. But it's been 14 years since we looked at this issue, and 14 years in broadband's a long time. We want everyone to have the benefit of competition, so opening this issue up for public comment, I think, is the right thing to do.
Well, keep in mind, again, these seniors are on fixed incomes.
I promise you that we will do that as we proceed.
Please, Commissioner Carr, what's your take on this proposal?
I think the FCC should withdraw this proposal. I think it could only raise the prices for Americans living in these types of buildings. And I think when you think about competition, the building or premises owner have a lot of market power. And in fact, they are competing in a market for services that is very robust. So if you were to prohibit bulk billing, you'd be going from a really frothy competitive environment and force people to get broadband services in a relatively less competitive environment. So it's bad for competition and it's bad for prices. I don't think right now is the time when we should be saddling Americans with that. The FCC's looked at this issue multiple times over the years and found that they do more good than harm, and I think we should stick with that.
Thank you, sir. I still have a couple more minutes, not a couple, but quite a few seconds. Commissioner Carr, we are constantly trying to ensure our international leadership in various industries, including the wireless marketplace. What effect will the FCC's Title II order have on American leadership in wireless technology?
Well, I think it's a headwind, right? It only makes it harder to build out and invest. And more broadly, I think if you look at this administration, it's fallen into a real deep malaise when it comes to one of these most important considerations for economic growth, which is wireless. Right now, we have no plan to turn things around. Even though we do have a lapsed general spectrum auction authority, we do have authority still to auction spectrum. In fact, just last week, the FCC missed a statutory deadline to auction 30 megahertz of spectrum because the Commerce Department in 2022 failed to meet a 2015 era statutory deadline imposed by Congress for identifying that specific 30 megahertz. So not only do we not have auction authority, but the administration isn't taking the steps that would let us move forward with auctions even where we do still have authority.
Thank you very much, and I'll yield back, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate
Thank you.
it.
The gentleman's time has expired, and the chair now recognizes the gentlelady from New York's 9th District, 5 minutes for questions.